Hi everyone, welcome to another Procreate tutorial. This is the drawing that we will be completing in today's video. This Mount Fuji drawing with some fun cherry blossom trees and a big bright red sun. Beautiful color palette, pretty simple drawing, lots of fun to do. So if you are new here, I mainly post Procreate tutorials, so if that is something you are interested in, go ahead and subscribe. I also offer extra tutorials over on Patreon. So if you want to, you can support me over there. It's a big help to help me keep making these free tutorials over on YouTube. So you get access to exclusive tutorials, sneak peeks, all that fun stuff. So here are some of the drawings that we've been doing recently over there. That is linked in the description below if you'd like to check that out. But before we get started on today's video, the only thing that you will need to do is download the color palette. I have it linked in the description below. It's totally free to download. Just download the file to your iPad and then double tap it or click on it and click open in Procreate, and it will automatically pop the color palette into Procreate so that you can use the same colors as you follow along with the video today. I will also post the canvas dimensions, color profile, and layers needed on the screen and in the description below so that you can use those to set up your canvas. So take a minute to get everything ready and then come back and we will get started. Okay, this is the color palette that we'll be working with today, so let's just go ahead and get started. We're first going to make our background kind of gradient layer, so it's going to start darker and get lighter towards the halfway point. So on our layer menu, we'll just be right on layer 1. We'll grab our first color on the first row of the color palette and drag and drop it onto our canvas to fill the entire thing. Then we'll just make a few stripes to make our gradient, and then we'll blur them together. So same layer, we're just going to grab our next color, second one on the top row, grab our selection tool, set it to a rectangle, and turn on color fill. And I am just going to start outside the left side, maybe about a quarter of the way down, and drag all the way across, covering the whole bottom part of my canvas, and then let it go to fill it in. Click our selection tool to turn it off so that we can do it one more time with the next color in line, the third one on the top row. Selection tool again, maybe about halfway now. We'll go and do the same thing, cover it all the way from left to right and the bottom. Let that go. Click the selection tool to turn it off. And now we'll blur them all together. So with our wand icon, we'll do Gaussian blur and we'll drag this up a good ways, quite a bit, to like 50% or so to get a really nice gradient. Okay, wand tool to turn that off, and now we can go ahead and get started on the rest of our picture. So we'll draw like the ground line first, and then the mountain, all the details on it, the clouds, the sun, the trees, and the reflection. So first things first, let's draw the ground that our mountain will sit on. This will be pretty simple. So on our layer menu, let's add a new layer. On our color palette, let's grab the fourth color on the top row. And for our brush, let's grab the monoline brush under the calligraphy tab. Opacity is at 100. We'll do our size at like 30. And I'm just going to start roughly a third of the way up the canvas. So not quite halfway, but almost. They are kind of maybe about here. Again, off the left side of my screen, I'm going to draw straight across with this. Hold it down until it turns perfectly straight. And then touch your finger on the screen to make it a perfectly horizontal line. Okay, if you need to, you can click this line button at the top to adjust it. Just move it up and down. Don't change the angle of it at all. But if you need to move it, you can do so. So up or down, but again, about a third of the way up our canvas here, like so. Now for the top line of this, we're going to make it a little more jagged. So I'm just going to start on the left side, a little bit above the line that we created. So starting here, I'm just going to kind of start going across. Pretty jagged, sometimes up, sometimes down, leaving that little gap all the way across, and then fill that in by dragging and dropping our color into it. Okay, then we're just going to add a little bit of detail to this, just a shadow and a highlight really. So on our layer menu, click on this layer and turn on alpha lock. Let's grab our darker color now, the fifth one on the top row, same monoline brush, and I am just going to tilt my canvas a little bit so that I can get a good angle. And I'm going to go just kind of through the middle or like a third of the way up on the line just to kind of create a shadow. So I'm not holding it down or anything. Just going to kind of go kind of a little bit wavy again. So it's kind of different all the way across. And then I'll just kind of go through and fill in any gap on the bottom. Rather than dragging and dropping, it'll be hard to do that since our colors are so similar. So I'm just going to go through and just quickly fill all that in, kind of to create a shadow there. Same thing with our highlight color. We'll just switch to that one now, 6th one on the top row, and we'll go just kind of across the tops here and there of our little piece just to create some brief highlights. So I'm just kind of going, filling in as I go, just touching it here and there, like so. Awesome. That is a good start. So that's our ground. Now we can move on to our mountain. So just to help us get a good position for it, I'm going to turn on Symmetry. So under the gear icon, under Canvas, let's turn on the drawing guide. Click Edit Drawing Guide, set it to Symmetry, and you should see a vertical line here. If you don't, click Vertical under the options here. And then go ahead and click Done. Now on our layer menu, this layer that we were just on probably says assisted. You can turn that off. Just click on it and turn off drawing assist. Even though we're done with this layer, I don't want that to potentially mess us up later for some reason. And we're just going to create a quick guide first. So let's add a new layer, click on it and turn on drawing assist so that we can use symmetry on our new layer. And we're just going to grab our bright white color, the first color on the 3rd row, and let's just create a quick guide. So I'm going to start on my symmetry line here, maybe about halfway through this remaining section. So maybe right about here. I'm going to start on the symmetry line. I'm going to draw down at an angle, hold it down until it turns perfectly straight. And I'm just going to let it stop right where my ground is with a little space on the left and right side showing still. So we don't want to go all the way to the edge. We want a little space there. So this is going to be kind of like the guide for our mountain. So let's leave that there. Let's go to our layer menu. Let's add a new layer above it, and we won't turn drawing assist on this time. And this is where we'll draw our actual mountain. We'll end up moving it below our ground layer here in a little bit, but we want to see it first so that we can kind of connect our shape and stuff. So our new layer, no drawing assist, and let's grab our first color on the 2nd row of the color palette now, and our same monoline brush. So we're just going to use this as a guide. We don't want our mountain to actually be symmetrical, but we want it to look, fairly even. We don't want it like way tilted to the left. We don't want one side like really short or one side really long or anything. So I'm just going to start kind of right where my white line is. And this time when I draw, I'm going to draw like a little bit more jagged, a little bit more kind of wavy until we get to the top here. And I'm going to kind of like round it down and go again. So it's not real pointy at the top. It's kind of rounded. And then I go like this. Then let's go ahead and connect it right where our ground is, not leaving any gaps, not going under it, not going over it, and then fill that in. Okay, that's good. We can delete our little guide here. So I'm going to delete that layer. I'm going to be on my new layer with my blue mountain. And now we can make some minor adjustments to some smoothing. So I don't want it to be maybe quite so jagged on this side. It got a little too crazy. So I want it to kind of smooth out just a little bit. And then make sure your tip looks nice. Again, kind of rounded at the top, not really pointy. And same thing on this other side. I might just kind of smooth some parts of it out like this, but it still should look fairly jagged. Okay, that looks great. Let's go ahead and move it on our layer menu now to be below our ground. So on our layer menu, grab this one and drag it down one layer so we're right here. Let's add a layer on top of it, and this is where we'll draw the snow cap part of it. So add a new layer, click on it, and set it to a clipping mask so we only draw within this blue shape. And grab our snow cap color, the 3rd one on the 2nd row. And we're first just going to make kind of a blob, and then we'll kind of work off of that to make some more realistic looking pieces. So for the most part though, I'm just going to start on the left side here, a little ways down. I'm going to kind of go like this, all the way across, connect it around the top to the other side so we have a full shape to fill in, and then fill that in. And again, this is just the start of it. So now we're going to kind of work off of this. And the main brush we're going to use for this is the Studio Pen under the inking category. We'll have the opacity again set to 100 for that, and we'll set the size to maybe like 30. But it's a nice pressure sensitive brush, so the harder you push, the thicker line you'll get, and then when you kind of let up, it'll kind of come to a point. So that's kind of what we're trying to do here. So I'm going to kind of do this all the way around. I'm just going to kind of make some little pointy pieces coming off of this in different directions. Kind of just expanding on the piece that we have, and then also making some kind of standalone pieces as well. Adjust your size if you need to help you better. Whatever works for you, depending on how hard you push down, but I'm going to kind of do something like this all the way around. Kind of like cutting some like at angles. So maybe something kind of like this to start, and then we're going to actually do the same thing with our eraser also. So let's open up our eraser library here, and we'll switch it as well to the Studio Pen under the inking category. Same settings, 100% for our opacity, 30 for our size, and we'll just kind of do the same thing. We'll kind of erase some little sections here, erase up like further in some spots if you would like to kind of cut in a little further like this, just to kind of help mix it up. We won't go too far up with this, so this is about as far down as I'll go with my white, and then this is about as far up as I'll go with my eraser here. It's about halfway through our white area here. So we'll go till we have something that looks kind of like this. And then I think that looks great. So then we will kind of move on and add some more stuff now. So now we'll add some shadows to both the snow cap and our mountain itself using the same brush, just a different just some different colors. So let's first add some to the mountain itself. So we'll go back to our mountain layer, click on it and turn on alpha lock, and then we'll grab our darker mountain color, the second one on the second row. Same brush, the studio pen, will just maybe increase the size of it to like 50 so we can get some kind of bigger sections. And then we'll just kind of do the same thing just on the mountain now. So I'll maybe even start up here a ways and kind of add some of this through. And then kind of same thing, we'll add some kind of like breaking jagged lines through towards the bottom. Some smaller ones as well. So same thing, just use a good size that works for you. But we'll just kind of do something like this. And yeah, same thing. Some of them can be under the snow as well. So don't shy away from that area necessarily. So something like that for the bottom part. And then we'll do a shadow in the same way on our snow caps now. So go to our snow caps layer, click on it, turn on alpha lock, and then grab our fourth color on the second row. And we'll do a similar thing. Again, adjust your size. I might lower it a little bit back down to like 30 to 40% now for this section. And then same thing, just kind of make some bigger kind of shadows here. Some little ones as well, obviously, to kind of mix it up, but okay, so along with those, I'm also going to add a slight shadow like to some of the edges on the bottom here. So like where the bottom of our snow caps are, I'm going to kind of maybe add some shadows in there as well. No real rhyme or reason to it, really just kind of pick some areas and just add in a shadow along the edge there. Something like that, and then that is it for that part. So next up, we're going to add a shadow to the entire right side of the mountain. So to do that, we'll go to our layer menu, add a layer above this one, click on it and set it to a clipping mask. So we're also clipped to our mountain layer, and then click the N on this layer and drag it up to multiply. So this will add a shadow to the whole thing. In our next color, the fifth one on the second row, we'll just go ahead and use our same brush, or you can switch back to the monoline brush, but I'm just going to keep on the studio pen. I'm going to start about, right on the tip, kind of right where my symmetry line is, and I'm just going to kind of start there, and then I'm going to kind of work my way kind of like this, something like that. And then we need to connect it. So I'm going to drag around the bottom of the mountain, around to the top where we started, connect it there so we can fill in the whole right side, something like that. Then we'll lower the opacity a little bit. It's a little too dark. You can leave it if you'd like it, but I might lower mine a little bit. So on my layer menu, I'm going to click this M, drag the opacity down a little bit to maybe like 70% or so. Okay, lastly for our mountain, we want to add kind of a little haze in front of it on the bottom. So to do that, let's go ahead and add a new layer on our layer menu above all of the ones we have so far, still below our bottom ground layer. Grab our bright white color, the first one on the last row, and let's go ahead and grab our soft brush under the airbrushing category. Let's drop our opacity on this to like 70, set our size to maybe 10, And we will just lightly across the bottom kind of start working this in like so, working our way up maybe like a third of the mountain, kind of going lighter as we get closer to like that top third, and then like a little deeper and thicker towards the bottom. Something like that. Well, let's go ahead and also clip this to our mountain just so we're not outside of it. So on our layer menu, click on this layer and set it to a clipping mask to our mountain layer. So we'll add clouds on the sides here and stuff, and we just don't want to be necessarily in front of those. So that looks good. That's it for our mountain. Now let's go ahead and add our clouds and our sun, and then we can make the duplicate for our reflection and add all those details, and then we can add the flowers and the trees last. So let's do our clouds next. So on our layer menu, we're going to add those behind our mountain. So right above our layer 1 here, same color that we're on, the first one on the last row. And let's switch back to our studio pen brush under the inking category. Opacity at 100, size, let's do like 50. And I am just going to start kind of anywhere on the right side here. I'm going to start making some kind of curves, going off the edge like this to be our cloud. I'll connect this back to the beginning under my ground to fill that in. Something like that, very simple. Feel free to adjust it a little bit in certain areas, but kind of just going up off the screen there. Okay, we'll do the same thing on the other side, maybe just like a little bit different. Maybe I'll start kind of there. I'll go out maybe a little further, something like that. Again, from the mountain here, I'm going to go down through my ground to connect to the edge so that I can fill that in. And then again, maybe adjust that as well or smooth it out a little bit. Something like that. Okay, so they shouldn't be like identical by any means, but they should have like similar, just like, presence. Like this one goes up a little bit higher, but that's okay because it's like kind of doesn't come in as far. So, just kind of similar in that sense. And then on this same layer, same color, same brush, we're going to lower our size a little bit to like 30. And I'm just going to add some quick details around the edges. So around the edge of each cloud, I'm just going to lightly kind of make some little pieces like this coming off of them. Okay, same thing on the other one. Something kind of like that. And then inside them, we're going to add a few more pieces like this as well, but we'll need to use a different color so that we can see them better. So we're going to switch to the second color on the last row, same layer, same pen and everything. And we'll just go through and add a few more kind of pieces like this through the cloud at different kind of angles and different sizes, just to add some more variation. But nothing too complicated. Okay, now let's go ahead and add our sun. So that is going to be right above our cloud layer, add a new layer. Grab our bright red color, the third one on the last row, and switch to our monoline brush under the calligraphy tab just so we get a good solid circle. Whatever size it's set to is fine. And we're just going to draw a circle shape in the background here. Hold it down until it turns perfectly smooth. And then if you touch your finger on the screen, it'll change it to a perfect circle. Set a good big size. Fill that in. And then let's grab it with our arrow tool. On uniform, if you need to resize it at all, up or down. And then we're going to kind of place it just a little off center here, coming off of our mountain. I'm going to do just slightly to the left side. Okay, and then that is everything that we're going to do for our reflection. So what we're going to do is go to our layer menu. We are going to group all of these layers together from my ground to my clouds, leaving out layer 1. So select one of these other layers, slide right on all the others to select them also, and then click group. And then let's go ahead and just tap this arrow to minimize it. Okay, let's first make a duplicate of layer 1. And we're going to flip it. So slide to the left on layer 1 and hit duplicate. let's just be on the top one here. Grab it with our arrow tool, click flip vertical, and then set it to freeform. And I'm going to drag it down a good ways here, like so. So we just kind of get it right there. See, up right underneath our ground, or a little higher even with our clouds is fine, as long as it's not like sticking out above our main background. But I do just want to kind of get a slight, gradient going there as well. Okay. Then on our layer menu, let's make a duplicate of our group here. So slide to the left and hit duplicate. Grab the bottom one, click on it and click flatten. So now all of our layers that were in a group are now just one big layer. Our first group is still unaffected and they're all still separated. That's what we want. But on our new layer on the bottom here, click our arrow tool again, click flip vertical again. Just make sure it's still set to freeform. But first, let's line it up here. So I have snapping turned on in the bottom left, and that'll help me kind of line it up here on my yellow line. That helps me keep it in the center, centered with everything. So I'm going to drag it down a ways here until I can start seeing my ground pop out. Make sure it's centered. Okay, then I'm going to drag this bottom middle button up just a little bit so that we get a little bit more of our reflection showing, and it's at a slightly different angle. But not too far. We don't want it to look too crazy like this, but maybe just where we might cut off part of our sun. So maybe about like this is good. Okay, now let's make this look like a reflection. So the first thing that we're going to do is lower the opacity of this layer. So open up your layer menu, click the N on this layer, and we'll drag the opacity down a little bit to maybe 75%. Then we're going to add a white rectangle over it that will also lower the opacity on. So on our layer menu, let's add a layer right above this one. Go back to our white color, the first one on the last row. Grab our selection tool, rectangle and color fill still turned on. I'm going to start on the outside left here and go up and cover till we get to right where this next ground layer is that we're still underneath for our top picture. Beautiful. On our layer menu, click the N on this layer and we'll drag the opacity down quite a bit to like 30%, but we just want a good kind of like haziness to it. Okay, then lastly, we're just going to add some streaks through it to make it look like water. So on our layer menu, add a new layer, same color. We're going to switch back to our studio pen and we're going to turn on our grid to help us get some perfectly straight lines. So under the gear icon, under Canvas, click to edit the drawing guide and switch it to the 2D grid. Turn on assisted drawing and then click done. No need to adjust the grid at all. On our layer menu, this new layer we're on should say assisted. If it doesn't, just click on it and turn on drawing assist. And then we are going to just go through and make some quick lines through this, kind of all over varying lengths. Some can go off the edge, some can be pretty small, closer together, whatever works. Just some nice quick horizontal lines to help sell this idea that this is water. Beautiful, nothing too crazy. Okay, once that's done, go to our gear icon again and turn off our drawing guide so we don't have to look at that anymore. The 2D grid is still turned on, so you can still keep going if you want to. Now that the grid's turned off, if you see some spots you want to add, feel free to do so. But otherwise, that is it for the reflection. So now the last thing to do is just add our cherry blossom trees. So to do that, we'll go to our layer menu. We'll add a layer above everything that we have so far. Let's switch to our branch color, which is this fourth one on the bottom row. We're going to stay on our studio pen. My size will be at like 30 still. And we'll just start drawing our branches, kind of like we've been doing everything. So we'll get some nice tapered ends for the ends of our branches. But I'm just going to start on the right side here, maybe just a little ways down. I'm going to push pretty hard and just going to start. I'm going to kind of make a few little wiggles and then kind of let it taper off. I'm going to start a little bit lower. Same thing, I'm going to kind of start, kind of wiggle it a little bit and then let it taper off. Okay, and then I'll start my main one on the other side too. We'll just do one on the left side. So we'll do two on the right, one on the left since our sun is kind of to the left. So we don't want as much over here. So I'm going to start one main one. Again, kind of wiggle around a little bit and then kind of let it taper off. Okay, then we're going to add branches off of these. So I'm going to start on the right side here, and every once in a while I'm just going to kind of have one go off, let it kind of taper, maybe do another one. This one can even go off the top of the canvas. That's fine. Maybe another little one's coming off of that. Maybe we have one here with another one off. Maybe we have kind of a bigger one here with a few off of it. Something like this, just all the way down, like so. Do the same thing on the next one. Just kind of trying to fill in some good space over here. So like I might make this one like a little bit longer so that I can fill in a little bit more space right there. Something like that. Okay, then to my left one, we'll have quite a bit coming off of this. Okay, I want this one to maybe be just like a little bit longer. I might just extend the whole thing to like right there. And I might have another big piece kind of come off right there as well. So just again, try to fill up some good space in the sky. So now that our branches are all laid out, let's go ahead and add our cherry blossoms. So to do that, let's go to our layer menu. Let's add a new layer above our branches. And we'll start with our darkest pink color, the 5th one on the bottom row. The brush that we're going to use for this is going to be the hard airbrush under the airbrushing category. This skinnier one down here. So not the hard brush or the hard blend, but this hard airbrush. We'll set our size to maybe 20%. Okay, and we're just going to start and make some flowers. So we'll kind of, if you just tap, it'll make kind of like a dot, pretty transparent. So if you keep pushing, it makes like more of a, thicker dot. And then if you just keep working around, we're going to kind of work into like some more kind of flowery looking pieces. So something more like this, little blobs, some smaller, some bigger. And just kind of all over, I mean, mainly sticking towards like our main branch off pieces. So we don't necessarily want some like kind of right on the branch here. That wouldn't make a ton of sense. But if it's close to like another branch like this, that's fine. So we'll just do a good variety of these. And again, kind of working in blobs so we get more of a flower shape instead of like a circle. We want to see some like petalish looking pieces. Okay, we'll do a good amount of this to get started. Something like that. Then we'll do the same thing on the left side. And we can always come back in and like add more. So we'll start here, we'll layer the 3 colors, and then we'll kind of come back through if we need to. Okay, so I'll do that for the darker ones. And then we'll add a new layer on our layer menu, grab our next color in line, the 6th one on the bottom row, and we'll do the same thing again. So just kind of over top of these. Again, some smaller, some bigger, always making those kind of petally pieces. So yeah, you can overlap, you can go next to, you can go, wherever. Just kind of trying to get some good variety going. So something like that for that one, and then we'll go over here and do the same thing. Okay, then we'll do another layer and our last color, 7th one on the bottom row, and one more good layer of a good variety of this lighter color now. Same thing on the other side. Okay, and then again, this is a good point where if we need to, we can go through and add some more of any of the colors, but I think this looks good. I'm going to add the petals to the sky first, and then we'll kind of see how it looks once that's done, because that kind of helps fill things out as well. So that's all going to be on one new layer. So new layer on top of everything. We're going to do all 3 petal colors. So let's go back to our darkest one first. Switch back to our studio pen under the inking category, size at like 30 still, and we'll just kind of push and get like a kind of a piece like this. Maybe not quite that big, but like something like that. And you know, they can be like kind of straight lines or kind of slightly curved to kind of look like petals blowing in the wind. We're not going to get too crazy with these, but you know, just like a few here and there, kind of around our trees. So that's all I'll do for like the darker color. Same layer, we're just going to switch to the next color, 6th one on the bottom row. And same thing, add a few of these petals in as well. Okay, and then same layer, our lightest pink, 7th on the bottom row. Same thing, and this time we're going to do a couple in front of our sun. So I'll do like one there, maybe one there, maybe some kind of here and there throughout the rest of our piece. Okay. So something kind of like that. And then again, that's where it's like I kind of feel like it helps kind of fill out our branches as well, that just that whole kind of area. But if you feel like you want more flowers, go ahead and add some more. But otherwise, that is it for our drawing today. I hope you had fun. I hope that you like the way that yours turned out. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any future tutorials from me. And then if you would like to share your drawing, I would love to see it. So go ahead and post it on Instagram and tag me so that I can check it out. And while you're there, go ahead and give me a follow so that you can see what I'm working on next. Thanks for watching.